So the other morning, my family was having breakfast together, and it was one of those special moments where all of us can eat together despite being on different paths in our lives and just being so busy in our day to day lives. So while happily devouring our breakfast, the dysfunctional family show ended with a turn of events. It ended with a firing of verbal gunshots coming from my dad and my brother, firing more and more rapidly as the battle progressed. I unconsciously shielded myself from the battlefield, creating a barrier of white light around me so I can try to keep their energy away from me, especially because I am an empath and I can just suck all that negative energy within me, and that is not okay. That is not pretty. So, yeah, my dad just brought up this old incident, this old wound that was inflicted from my brother. And I was thinking that was years ago. None of any of us, right, was in the same mindset. None of us was the same person. So why bring up? But yet my dad was still hurt from this. And because he was still hurt from this, it just kind of like erupted up, right? And my brother felt hurt because it was so significant to my dad. And none of us wants to hurt the people that we love. And I think we all been in this situation before when one person brings up something that you did that still haunts them, or vice versa, you unknowingly hurt the other party, right? And you feel like because the other person can't let go of this incident, you feel terrible that you've hurt this person, especially if they are someone that you care deeply about, like a family, a friend, or a partner. So I want to ask you, if you were in this situation, what would you do? What is your initial reaction? Would you try to steer the topic away? Would you try to apologize? Would you just try to take sides? What would you do? Because maybe you want to help, right? Maybe you want to help and sort things out by coming to an understanding in common ground. Maybe you want to compromise. But in my experience, it is highly, highly risky to depend on another person to change or to understand you, right? It takes so much energy, too much energy to try to fix the other person. And it just becomes like wasted energy in the very end. Especially if in the end they will never change, they will never understand, they will never move on. And, you just end up becoming frustrated and hopeless, and things will just get more and more tense as you try to fix or help the other person. I think the best way to handle situation is to let go, to control your energy and control your chaos and just bring down that ego a little bit, right? Because our ego is, when that happens, when we get into an argument like that, our ego comes up and says, hey, what's up? Like, don't worry, I'll protect you. But in fact, your ego is like a double-edged sword, and if you wield it carelessly, you can end up hurting the other person and yourself. So again, the best tip from me in my experience is to control your chaos. So before I tell you a few tips to better control your energy, let me first say that learning to manage your energy isn't a means of surrendering. It is not in a sense where you just let the other person have their stroke of ego. No, managing your energy is for you to move on, is to clear the path away for yourself and move on, and to set yourself free from this manipulation or toxic energy around you, right? Because you're not someone who wants to hurt someone that they love with some verbal abuse, right? Or you don't want to get physical with someone that you care about, right? You are not on the leash of your sins, right? You are a being of light. When you let somebody anger you, you are just carelessly giving away your freedom to the other person. So reclaim your power. Reclaim your power by telling your ego, hey, thank you for protecting me, but I don't need you anymore. I got this. Let me handle it, right? And then you will see things from a totally different light. So knowing when your ego has taken over you is the initial step to setting yourself free and controlling your energy. When you feel that your ego is arising during a situation, pause and try to process the situation as if you're like a child. Note, you are not childish. You are like a child. I don't know if you seen a child process their emotions. Maybe try to remember when you were a child and how you would process emotions. It was simple, right? You would just say things and do things without filters, meaning that children can effectively communicate their feelings without sugarcoating them, exaggerating words, and creating a whole drama out of the situation, right? They don't beat around the bush. They don't mask their emotions for a completely different emotion, like masking caringness. Is that a word? Caringness with anger, which I think is so prominent, especially in parentals. Right? Children are, I think, the most effective and true communicators out there. So aside from being master communicators, children, they know their power, and that in most cases, they know that there's actually just something that's blocking them from getting what they want. And that can just be miscommunication, right? Bad communication, ego, right? They can clearly identify the problem and work through it. So what is the issue that you think that is having your ego come up? Is it because of like a certain fear in you? Or is it like a past event that has kind of tainted all future events, and you associate that with fear or insecurity or bad, right? Because in most cases, especially if, it's with your parents or family, your loved ones, again, most parties have really good intentions, but you guys are just fucking bad at communicating, which is okay, right? Not everyone is a good communicator, and you can't really change that about them, right? So learn to communicate like a children for your own sake, right? Worst case is that you just, which is actually the best case, right? Is you just walk away from the person knowing that they can never make you feel like shit, because you are in control of your own emotions. So catching yourself in the crossfire and becoming aware of your own actions, thoughts, and energy is extremely difficult. I am not going to lie. Don't expect to master the skill in a day, a week, a year, or even years. Maybe this will be a skill that you need to master for just lifetime. It's like, your moose swings, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. And when it's down, it's extremely difficult. Did I just spit? Okay. It's extremely difficult to try to manage your energy when you are in a low state or you're already in a low energy. So when you are in a higher energy, it's so much more easier because you know your power and you know where you stand, and you can just effectively tell your ego, like, hey, I got this. Yeah, you might need to start to do this, and even though it might take a lifetime to master, I think starting to become aware and working on this can help you in so many situations, and it will probably totally change your whole perspective, your whole way of communicating, and your whole way of looking at people and yourself, right? So when we take these actions, right, to set ourselves free, it is evident that we can now face our fears head on. And that is basically what we want, right? No longer will we have our fear just wander through our bodies and pop up randomly. You know, like I like to see our bodies as our home, right? Your fear is just wandering in, and this is your home. So you are in charge of your home. You can set boundaries for your home. And that is what I want you to do for your ego. And note that ego isn't always a bad thing. Like I said earlier, it is just there to protect you. So just be nice to yourself. Your ego is your friend. Just that friend that, you know, gets in trouble a lot. So yeah, reclaim your power, right? Set boundaries for yourself, set boundaries in your own home. And even though it is really difficult to do this, I, as always, have tips for you that you can do, and hopefully they will help you, right? A disclaimer is that these tips work differently for everyone. So just play around with it, maybe come up with new ones, just modify them a little, just be creative with them and just do what works for you, right? And if none of them works for you, that's okay too. I just hope that in this video you take away that you are in control of your own emotions. Okay, so with that being said, the first tip that I personally like to do that has really, really helped me become aware of my emotions is journaling. Journaling is basically just writing, but it's basically just writing, right? You're just writing in a notebook or a piece of paper. And why journaling is so effective is that when you begin writing or consistently writing your emotions and your thought processes, it's like all physically laid out in front of you. So it's easy to kind of solidify what's going in your home. Again, your home is like your body, your being, and you can kind of like pick out little like patterns or thought behaviors that you do that you probably don't even realize that you're doing, right? Because it's happening on such a subconscious level, you're just not aware. Maybe, for example, you notice that whenever a certain topic arises, that's a trigger for you. So, for example, for me, right, I'll use myself as an example. For me, my trigger is when anybody brings up things like what you want to do in the future or about jobs, because I am unemployed. And I've always been unemployed and I always struggled financially. So that is a trigger for me. But learning to know that that's my trigger, I can better control it, especially around this topic. So now when somebody brings up things about jobs, I don't jump the gun and just become angry, right? I pause and I process it and be like, yes, you know, you are right. I can do this. Thank you for your suggestion, but I'm not going to take it. Or thank you for your suggestion and I will consider it and I will take it. Again, everyone has free will, so, you know. But this is just really great to, again, solidify and see what is going on inside your home. And that can play a huge, huge role in self-transformation, is just being aware of yourself and your thoughts. Right? So another thing I like to do is to have hobbies and explore hobbies. Now, this might sound really weird, like, really? Like, hobbies? Okay, hear me out, right? So when we invest ourselves into the things that brings us joy, it's really easy to ground ourselves. And as I mentioned earlier, when you are in a high state, right, it's so much easier to manage your energy and control your emotions, right? So when we do things that we enjoy, we can, care less about what other people think about us and focus on ourselves because, so we focus on ourselves and then we can build something up that we're proud of, right? So society has really taught us on how to focus on the external so much that many of us actually identify ourselves based on how other people see us or their opinions about us, and we just like fall prey into this cycle of like, oh, what other people are doing, or like, how do they think, how do they view me, right? But when we have hobbies that we enjoy, we are already in such a really heightened and high vibrational state, right? And that good things will just naturally come to us, right? we don't have to like depend on this other person for our happiness, right? We depend on ourselves for happiness. We know that we are supported and we know we are loved. So if one person tries to hurt us, it's okay. Or, I mean, maybe it's not okay if it's like your family, right? Or someone that you really, really love, like a partner. It's not okay, but you know at least you are going to be okay. Let's see. So in a sense, hobbies can really teach us that we can and we should focus on ourselves, and not on the opinions of others. Another thing is, I say this in all my videos, but I really cannot stress enough how important it is to practice appreciation. So we are really powerful as human beings in that whatever we think can actually become reality, right? So maybe we can change the words that we say to ourselves and just change the story, because I don't think there is any main character in a book that is so degrading towards themselves and always think of negative things, right? That's not a very fun story, right? No one wants this. Practicing gratitude can allow you to see that sometimes in order to grow, we do need to have the rain, right? And rain is not a bad thing. Again, it's there for us to grow. I want you to also step into your own power by adding in the tips that I've discussed above, like journaling your thoughts out, exploring and developing personal hobbies, and practicing appreciation. So now it's your turn. Go out there and be the person you always dreamed of. Thanks for listening, and I give you so much love and light as always. So, bye!